place to start with on our Eradicator is of course with his armor, and the color we're going to be using for this is Blood Angels Red. Now the way we're going to do this is we're going to do very steadily. We're just going to take a fair chunk of it on our brush, and then we're just going to very methodically apply this in these big broad brush strokes to each armor panel or section at a time. Like this. And with all that Blood Angels Red applied, we've now got some really awesome looking red armor. Now what we're going to do is, before we do any highlights to the armor, we want to kind of get a lot more of the base coats on, and we're just going to do all the highlights in one kind of big long sweep. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use some black Templar, and this is going to be for all of the black details. Now this includes areas like his the soft ribbing on the power armor, so like here on his belly and in his arms and in his legs. We also want to use this black Templar on his belt. Like so. We also want to use it on the pouches and his gun and his chest aquila. There's a lot of black details on this guy. So we just want to go around picking all of this stuff out. I would recommend is kind of doing it a detail at a time until you can't do any more of that detail. So for example, there on the back, and just be careful around all of that red, because the black does leave quite a nasty splodge. It's very difficult to correct. With that black Templar applied, we're now going to colour in the helmet, and the colour we're going to be using for this is Leviadon Blue. And this is because he's a heavy support marine. So what we want to do is, we don't want to use loads of Leviadon Blue, because we want this to be a nice kind of, we want it to be a dark blue, but we don't want it to be like black. So we're just going to use a sparing amount of it as we do it. We're just going to apply it very carefully, very smoothly like this. Just using small amounts each time we go back to the brush, the pot, with our brush. And next up, we're going to use some Skeleton Horde, and this is for the Purity Seal. I just want this to put this all over the paper parchment. And the more you use, the more weathered it'll look, and the less you use, the more kind of new it will look, as it were. So it's really up to you, it's up to taste how much of this skeleton horde that you will use when doing this. Like that. And next up, we want to use a small amount of Magos Purple. And this is just for the wax seal on that purity seal. Like that. Not very much at all. And with that done, we now want to use some thinned down Iron Warriors. And this is for all the silver details. So areas like the big cables connecting his legs to his legs. His lower legs to his upper legs. The pistol handle, the workings of the gun, the vents on the backpack. Any of the areas we want to be silver, really. So we just want to use this Iron Warriors all over. Like this. Again, just being very careful when we get close to any of that other detail that we've already painted in. And next up, we want to use some thinned down Retributor Armour. It's going to be for the gold details. So this includes the little winged skull motif on the gun and the emblem on his gauntlet. And next up, we want to paint in the melter barrel with some thinned down Runelord Brass. And with that Runelord Brass applied, it's now, well, we've got all of our base coats on, which is awesome. So the next colour that we're going to do is we're going to add some shading to some of those metallics. And the one we're going to use is Basilicanum Grey. And this is just for the silver and the gold. We're just going to leave that Runelord Brass for now. So we just want to use our Basilicanum Grey, take some on our brush, and we just want to start painting this all over the silver and the gold. Like this. And next up, we're going to apply some shading to that barrel. Now, the colours we're going to be using are Aggaros Dunes, Magos Purple, and Basilicanum Grey. And the way that we're going to do this is what we're going to first do is we're going to take the Aggaros Dunes, and we want to put this all over the barrel like this, just working it into those recesses as well to make sure that they're nice and dark. We want to get this all over. Both sides of the barrel. Like that, and just make sure that the top is covered and the bottom is covered as well. Like that. Then what we want to do is give our brush a quick wash. And then we want to grab some Magos Purple. And what we want to do with the Magos Purple is we effectively want to paint over the front half of the barrel whilst it's still wet like this. And what you'll see is that the Magos Purple and the Aggaros Dunes will blend together really nicely to kind of create this heat shear, which is what we're after. Like that. Give your brush a quick wash. And then similarly again with some Basilicanum Grey, we want to, around the end of the barrel, we want to add the Basilicanum Grey. Like that. you get this really nice kind of fade between the purple, the brown, and the grey, like that. And with that done, it's now time to start adding some highlights to the miniature. And the colour that we're going to start with, some thinned down Hoeth Blue, and this is for his helmet. And what we want to do is we just want to pick out the sharpest edges of the helmet, like this. And next up, we want to use a small amount of Fenrisian Grey just on the corners. Like that, just to give it a bit of shine. And next up, we want to use some Administratum Grey, and this is just to highlight the gun by kind of catching the top edges, like this. But also just to hit the corners on the black pouches as well. And next up, we want to take some thinned down Fire Dragon Bright. Now, it's generally a good idea to thin this down a little bit more than you normally would. And that way, the highlight is a little bit more subtle, depending on how much you have on your brush. Because Fire Dragon Bright is quite orange, obviously. But the more you thin it down, and the less you have on your brush as you do your highlight, the more subtle the effect will be. So what we want to do with this Fire Dragon Bright is we just want to pick out the sharpest edges. So areas like the tops of the knee pads like this, and a teeny tiny little bit along the fingers and around the hand, like this. As you can see, just using a smaller amount of that Fire Dragon Bright, it applies the highlight, but it's a lot more subtle than if you kind of put loads on at once. So we just want to just kind of hit around here. Like this. So we're just looking to add light, effectively, to this miniature. Similarly around here, kind of want to just use a small amount to hit that edge, like that, and like that. So it gives us this nice, as you can see, it's a really cool little effect. So we want to go around doing this across all of the edges that we want to be slightly brighter, and then we'll come back. And with that Fire Dragon Bright applied, we've now got this really lovely looking Blood Angels red armour. Now, just keeping with the red just for a second, what we're going to do is use a small amount of Evil Sunz Scarlet just to fill in the lens. Like so. We want to do the same on the other side. And then once that Evil Sunz Scarlet is dry, we once again take a small amount of Fire Dragon Bright, and we just want to add this to the front half of each of those lenses, like that. And next up, we're going to highlight all the gold, and we're going to be using Liberator Gold for this. You just want to hit the edges. We can also do the gun barrel itself with the Liberator Gold. Like that, just to give a nice subtle highlight. And with that gold highlighted, it's now time to highlight the silver. And the colour we're going to be using for that is some Iron Hand Steel. And all we want to do is we just want to pick out all of the edges of the silver, with this colour like this. Just being really careful every time we get close to any of that black, red or that gold or any of those other colours that we've already painted. And next up, just to finish them off, we're going to use a little bit of Ork Flesh. This is for the exposed soft cable just here on his arm. And as you can see, I've painted in that Necron head in the same style as the rest of the Zarakan dynasty, which you can find all the tutorials for here on YouTube that I've done, because all that's left to do is the basing. And I recommend that you do this in the same style as the rest of your army. However, if you'd like to see and copy how I do it, you can check out the How to Paint Nuclear Wasteland Bases tutorial, also available here on YouTube. And there you have it, the Eradicator is finished. Now, combining this with some heavy intercessors and some aggressors and some inceptors, you can do an almost all Gravis army, and that's really exciting. And actually, judging by what we see with the rules, these are pretty tasty. Most people I know are chomping at the bit to get 18, so yeah, maybe I'll join them. I probably won't. I'm too fluffy a gamer. Anyway, I really enjoy painting Gravis. I really love the look of it. I think it's awesome and it's really chunky and it feels like it's got such power behind it. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support me further, like these legends on the screen, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Do all of that good stuff. And if you want to be kept up to date, make sure to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.